how does the education system shape teenagers' development? Our education system holds so much potential to shape teenagers into who they want to become. But the question still remains, how effectively does the education system take on this responsibility? That's what I want to talk to you about today, how the education system disincentivises young people from seeking support. I speak to you today as the founder of an educational wellbeing non-profit and as an 18-year-old youth advocate. Since I was 14, my life's goal has been to help cultivate an environment where young people feel safe and supported to raise wellbeing concerns and feel supported. Throughout my career, I have had the pleasure to listen to countless high schoolers share their thoughts on the current education system, the barriers from speaking out, and what they think the perfect education system would look like. It's such an important topic to me because when I was 8, I lost my dad to suicide. When my dad was 13, he lost his dad to suicide. My goal in life is to, number one, end that cycle, but number two, use my experience to help educate teenagers on healthy coping skills, how to speak out, and destigmatising getting help. So long story short, I'm very passionate about changing the education system and especially early intervention. And I'm not by any means a destroy the institution type person, but I do think we need to realise that young people, school-age students, are in a critical phase of childhood development. And I think in many cases, we don't consider that critically enough, and sometimes even at all. Schools have the power to shape a student's becoming, if you will. I think we can all agree that schools have the obligation to take students' wellbeing into account and invest time into it. But instead, the current institutional structure conforms students into a heart-wrenching dilemma between academic excellence or mental health. It's no surprise why academically performing students have declining mental health. It can be seen in research such as Erin and Co, who suggests that gifted students are at risk in terms of their mental health. But a fundamental shift is imperative. Having good mental health and being academically excellent can coexist harmoniously, but only if we do it right. I think we need to reimagine what our education system could look like. We need to start thinking outside the box. I think we should recognise schools as this magical place where we can take young people and empower them into who they want to become, where they want to go. I see the education system as this facet of educational development that celebrates individuality and recognises diverse pathways. But instead, I believe the current institutional structure suppresses individuality. I think it's also important that we define what educational wellbeing means. Whilst the term wellbeing in the media has become a massive buzzword, research actually suggests it's shrouded in ambiguity and generally poorly defined. And it begs the question, how can we make policy for educational wellbeing when we don't really know what it means? In 2003, researchers Pollard and Lee identified 5 distinct domains of wellbeing generally, being physical, psychological, cognitive, emotional, and social. But in terms of educational wellbeing, we still don't know what that means. And having no universal guidance of what that means stores progress and lacks congruency. It contributes to an ad hoc and inconsistent policy landscape. And it means we can't effectively move forward in education and wellbeing because the goalposts keep changing. I also don't think that our education system handles wellbeing concerns very well. And for that, I want to do an exercise. Can you put your hand up if you've ever had a wellbeing concern at all? Any safeguarding concern? Pretty much most of us. But in the first instance, can you put your hand up if you went to a parent or a teacher first? And if you went to one of your friends first? Okay. About half and half, but research suggests that 66% of 16 and 17-year-olds seek help from their friends, whilst only 22% seek help from teachers. Now, why are we not educating young people? If 66% of young people are seeking help from their parents, why aren't we educating young people on how to have those tricky conversations and how to comfort their friends? if 66% of young people are going to their friends, what if that friend can't handle those emotional, mental, or physical burdens? See, our teachers are so important to our education system. Teachers just simply don't have enough time to genuinely connect with students. My slides in my head have all mucked up, so we're doing this speech ad hoc. But I remember that when I was speaking to a principal, he told me he knew of lots of instances where young people, their biggest fear was speaking out. In 2016, researchers Anderson and Graham concluded one of the respondents said, if you get involved once and nothing happens, you might not try again. But every student should have a teacher that they feel comfortable and supported to speak to. Speaking to a student, he said, and the quote was supposed to be up, but it was something along the lines of having a teacher that supported me contributes to my everyday life and still helps how I conduct myself at work and in school. But my experience of the education system is that the education system is faltering. But it makes sense. It makes sense when I hear things like I heard a few months ago. I heard some of the worst things I've ever heard in my career. A group of young people came up to me and they told me some very, very horrific wellbeing concerns. But they told me that when they reported those concerns, they felt fobbed off, like a burden, or as if it's their fault. And that raises significant sirens in my head, because how is it that a group of young people who are reporting wellbeing concerns, and I mean very serious wellbeing concerns, feel like it's their fault, or as if young people aren't first, as if like the institution's reputation is more important? Those raise significant concerns in my head and stories that I hear all too often. The status quo at the moment isn't what it should be, and students are calling for reform. As a student, I was one of those people. I distinctly remember walking into my assistant principal's office supporting one of my friends. Even though we were there to report very serious wellbeing concerns, and even though we were actually told that he knew about it, when we went into there, he said he knew nothing of it. And how is it in an industry of such high regulation, we don't know who's been told what? Actually think about that for a second. In an industry of such high administrative burden, we know that teachers are burnt out, there's such high administrative workload on teachers. How is the best that the school can do is to track an email to track a wellbeing concern. But that's only if an email was actually sent and it wasn't an informal face-to-face chat. I think that's shocking. But I think we need to reimagine our school system, especially after COVID. I mean, in COVID, we learnt that we can think beyond what we currently know the education system as. We shouldn't be teaching every student the exact same thing at the exact same time. And we learnt that teenagers need some sort of environment where they can build their well-being and talk to each other. We need to stop thinking about what school is now and thinking about what school ought to be, a concept I learned in uni last week. I think that our education system should allow students to thrive and achieve, not only in their academic well-being, but in terms of their overall well-being. I think in 2016 again, and I say 2016 because there was one report by Anderson and Graham, that's the report I'm referring to. 2016, they concluded that schools in Australia have been increasingly identified as environments that promote children and young people's social and emotional well-being. And as schools start to increase as this type of environment, we should be moving from an institution based solely on education, but one that recognises young people's individuality, celebrates diverse pathways, and builds real and meaningful connections. An institution that allows teenagers to stop, consider, and think about what type of person they want to be. What you get there is an institution where young people feel supported and feel comfortable. But young people are the future, and they deserve quality education systems that genuinely care about their well-being. We should be building an institution where young people are cared for not only in their academic well-being, in their academic excellence, but also in their social and emotional well-being. But the journey to reshape education is a collective one. Everybody has their part to play. It's a journey where understanding the problem paves the pathway of real and meaningful solutions. And Albert Einstein once said that no problem can be created in the same consciousness that created it. And I am not by any means anything like Albert Einstein, but I do think he has a point. Thank you very much.